Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Monday. It is the 22nd of December, the year 2025. Welcome to the Rufus Williams Show. I am Rufus Williams, broadcasting to you live from beautiful Red Hook, New York. But glad to be with you as always. But my main man, T-Dub's in the studio. Titus, how you doing this morning? Your voice doesn't sound like it, Titus. Your voice sounds like you haven't had much sleep. The Bears game on Saturday. Man, what a game that was. It led no matter what station you watch, no matter what network, no matter what was supposed to be on, this was the game that led all the newscasts on yesterday morning. All right, that's new news. What is your sister producing, Titus? Now, who knew that? Why you keep keeping these things secret until all of a sudden we hear? But that's good and interesting to know. Now we know it's all in the family. Titus, that game. I talked to many people who said that they fell asleep, turned it off, moved on after 3 quarters because it was so boring. They missed it. Well, not anymore. You know, there was a time when you would fall asleep before even turning it on. But yeah, not last year. These Bears tend to have these contests, and no matter what the score, you got to watch it till the very end. And man, what an ending to this game on Saturday, and against Green Bay of all places, of all people. Well, people had all weekend to drink. They had from Friday when they got off work until a game on Saturday night. Folks were ready for whatever the weather was going to be out there, and it was just, it was, it was, it was. I'm glad the Bears won because all the excitement that we feel would have just been such a downer if it had happened on the other way. But just everything seemed to fall into place. Here's the thing that was quite interesting, though. Green Bay has 2 black quarterbacks. And the second one might actually have been better than the first one on Saturday. It was pretty amazing. Right. Let me be clear, man. He didn't make many mistakes at all on Saturday. So shining is what he does and what he did. And obviously not being the fan that you are, not being as knowledgeable. We kind of watched. Now listen to the commentators talk about him needing to warm up and all these other things, but he looked so poised in the pocket and did all the things that you would expect to do. So while you look, and the Green Bay was wounded by having their big defender who's out, and then their quarterback gets hurt. And as they continue to move down the field, it looked like you prepare for one team and end up playing against another one and you're not ready for it. So Green Bay looked like they were in control of it until all of a sudden they just weren't. Yeah. So let me be clear. Still pissed at the NFL. And even more upset when I watch, because what they've been able to do and what we do is sports pulls us in. Sports is a wonderful distraction from all else that's happening. The competition is great and we're pulled in, but then just as we're watching and talking right here in Green Bay, which you would not expect, not after the folks who were there, they've got these two great black quarterbacks who are out getting it done, and we are very much into the game, but they don't think as much about us as they should. And watching all the everybody wearing Inspire Change and what all of that was. This is the same league that did not allow Colin Kaepernick to play again after he took a knee. And write what you want, say what you will, but those things aren't forgotten. I think there was a big deal made. They gave some organization $10,000. I mean, the NFL to give you $10,000 is like you dropping a penny on the street and walking away from it. It's nothing, but they get a lot out of that. So all the reasons that I was done with the NFL have not gone away. I am a Chicago fan. I am not late to the Bears bandwagon, but I'm cheering for them. And but I haven't forgotten why I'm upset, and I'm not losing that at all. I had to say that because I did watch the football yesterday too, particularly the Detroit game, because that game was important for the Bears to make the playoffs, and it happened, Titus. Man. Indeed. And there was a group meeting on the field after that last play. Everybody's sitting with bated breath trying to figure out what happened, because the quarterback, Goff, did in fact run into the end zone on a flip at the end. So did they win? Did they not? It was just a pretty incredible finish to the game. It's 18 after. We need to go to break, but I do want to point out just before we do, Titus, the Bulls were in a defensive contest yesterday. The final score 152-150. Man, that is, did anybody play any defense in that game? And 83 points at halftime. Insane. 152-150. And even after all they did, they almost lost the game, obviously, because it's that close. And you don't want to do that. So just a great time for Chicago sports right now. So grab on, grab in. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, there's an alternative budget in City Council. Let's talk about what they did. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. A lot going on, a lot happened over the weekend. There had been, as you know, by law, the city has to come up with the budget by the end of this year. The aldermen approve the budget. The mayor puts forth the budget, but the aldermen have to approve it. They're the ones. That's the line that exists. And with that, this city council, in fact, was looking, moving, trying, planning to do just that. And what ultimately happened is the mayor put forth a budget that had things in there like a corporate head tax, which became a real point of controversy. Corporate head tax that had been moved to charge something like $33 per person for companies that had over 500 employees. The aldermen rejected that out of hand, and what they worked on was coming up with an alternative budget, which in fact they did. And they had a meeting on Saturday. So working folks had a meeting on Saturday, passed this alternative budget. And with the passing of that alternative budget, they did a number of other things that, one, did not include the corporate head tax, not at all, as the mayor had put it in, because they suggested that was dead on arrival. But they did increase some other things. They increased things like the amount we pay for plastic bags, and some other things to kind of get there. When the mayor included the head tax, part of his logic was that this was going to be used, in fact, to pay for some of the programs that had helped to keep down violence, to pay for jobs that young people were getting during the summertime. And the statistics, the facts, even though there was some level of violence this summer, the fact of the matter is it was down. Shootings have been down, violent crime has been down, a lot of things have been reduced, and the argument can easily be made that you give young people something to do, they will not engage, and and I don't mind as a playground for the devil. Give them something to do, give them jobs, give them money, give them alternatives, and you get a different outcome. And that's what the mayor has been pushing from the very beginning when he pushed against signing off on this SNAP curfew and all those other things, is to invest in people. So this new budget comes through, and we'll see kind of where things go. The mayor has ultimately the ability to sign off. He signs off on the budget. So he can either approve it, he can sign off on it, he can amend it, or he can just straight out veto it. It is the 22nd of December. This has to happen by the end of the month, 8 days, or the city shuts down. Very likely the city is not going to shut down. There will be some angst, some anger, a lot of discussion, but ultimately I suspect that this thing is going to pass as it has now been approved. So the mayor gave his speech before. I'm sure he will speak more today. Will there be some compromises that happen in between? We'll see. It's still possible. But ultimately, we're right up against the holiday, and this is something that's going to in fact happen. So these things don't happen very often. I know that having sat in some of these city council meetings when the budget was being approved, when Mayor Daley was there, he had the ability, however it happened, through machine politics, through power, through being there, through amassing it, to help the aldermen come to an agreement on whatever the budget was that he put forth. Whether he did that through compromises before, whether he did that with an iron fist, otherwise, it happened. The power of the mayor's office is not the same as it was when Mayor Daley was there. Some things began to get stripped away, some because this is what people ultimately ran on. We won't be the same kind of leader that you've seen before. I believe that Rahm still had a lot of the powers that Mayor Daley had, because Mayor Daley, he didn't really run against him. He didn't run against him because Mayor Daley decided to retire. And Rahm became the one who somehow knew and became mayor with many of the powers that were still in. But you'll recall that Mayor Lightfoot ran her race with removing some of those things and removing some of the privileges that aldermen have, although that didn't make her very popular with them. And at each point, it comes in to say we're going to give more power back to the people, meaning that the mayor role is reduced in that process. So a lot of that could very well be why this mayor doesn't have the ability to press the alderman as previous mayors, particularly Mayor Daley, was able to. But here we are. And budgets, in fact, set the priorities for the leadership, sets the priorities for the city. And if you're running the city and you don't have the ability to set those priorities, then we'll have to see how these things ultimately go. When we think about just the reduction of the power of the mayor, one of the things that will stand out, and we'll talk about this more because we have to, next year, we get a fully elected school board. The schools, whether the mayor is in charge of them or not, one of the major institutions in this city, people will judge the city based on how our schools are doing. Right now, at the leadership level, there's chaos. We have an interim CEO. We have a board that will be fully elected. Right now, it's 10 elected members, 11 appointed by the mayor. So the mayor appoints the president. So the mayor still has control until this election happens. All 21 members will have been elected, including the election of a president. So we'll see who's in charge of schools at that point. They will undoubtedly spend time this year trying to break off where the responsibilities that have been duplicative, or at least where some of the pieces of the schools fall into some of the agencies that are part of the city. So there's going to be some challenges and some unwrapping as all of that happens over the next year. But that's one of the things that's there. So we'll see where the mayor ends up on this budget. Ultimately, the money that's needed is coming from someplace. If it's not coming from the corporations, if it's not coming from a head tax, it's coming from us. It's coming from you and I, and we'll be paying more in different ways in which that comes through. In addition to that, there's still issues around property taxes. They've come due. People have gotten payment plans. People have filed for appeals, which won't help until next year. And the big news now is that there are a lot of districts, not necessarily Chicago, but a number of suburban districts around Cook County who need the money, who can't function without the money coming in from these tax revenues. The bills were late going out. The payments happened pretty quickly, but they were later coming in. And now they've got some issues within the software to determine who gets what and when they get it. So property taxes, yep, it's a mess, but we continue on. Let's find out from Candace what's going on in the news. When we come back, there's a lot that happened in politics last week, a lot that we can expect coming into next year. None other than our very own political strategist and political consultant, Amisha Cross, will join me, and we'll try to unpack some of those things. We'll be back right after this. There's bad. Welcome back. Before I get to my wonderful guest who's coming up next, let me just touch on a couple of things. I was hoping to have one of the alders come on and talk about the adjustments to the budget, but just quickly, what this new budget has, and Candace mentioned some in her report, it increases the city's tax on personal property leases with everything from car rentals to cloud computing, which goes up to 15% from 11%. There had been a proposal of a 14% congestion zone for ride shares that I don't think is in there. The head tax is not in there. There is no property tax hike except for the $9.1 million increase that's dedicated to averting cuts at the libraries. There's not a hike in garbage fees. There is a number of things that the mayor did want to include that are still within this budget. So we still get to some of the things that are there. There's a $1 billion TIF surplus, which would get $572 million to the schools and $233 million to the city. There will be short-term borrowing to cover the cost of back pay for the firefighters and legal settlements and borrowing plans for infrastructure improvement. So those are some of the things that are in there. We can get into it more a bit later. I do have a caller who's been waiting for a bit, so let me get him in. Brother Hall, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning? All right, Brother Hall, appreciate it. We'll get more into that later in the week. I've got some days without guests, so we'll come to it. But today I do have one, and I'm always happy to have her join us. It is our political strategist, our political consultant, although she's now opened up to the world as they recognize her abilities. Amisha Cross, good morning, and welcome back to WBON. Yeah, Yeah, if we got some checks, somebody needs to let me know that too. But it's so good to have you, man. Last week was quite a week in the political space, even as this year has been, Amisha. There's been, to think about all the things that have taken place, and Trump has not even been in office again for a year. There's so much that's happening, but I want to begin here. What is the deal with Nicki Minaj? Mm. Mm. And there you have it. And there's a backdrop in case you all didn't see it. Nicki Minaj spoke at the Turning Point conference over this weekend, speaking and espousing the graces of how great the current occupant is, which, as Amisha just pointed out, it's always got to be some personal undertone that comes with that, and folks know what moves his needle, and so there you are. Speaking of that, is Erica Kirk really relevant? I mean, she is now come out. She's endorsing J.D. Vance for president for the next run. I mean, she's married to widow of Charlie Clerk, who's clearly racist. Does that make her one as well? What's the deal, and do we care about Erica Kirk? this conference that they had over the weekend. So you got Vivek Ramaswamy. I had to take a minute and remember who the heck he was because I forgot. So the name sounds familiar. He's even been on our show, but I couldn't remember who he was. But he and others there, he and JD Vance seem to be towing different lines at this point. Is this kind of what we see that very well may be the future of MAGA as it goes forward? Because without the current guy at the helm, it seems like it's fracturing all over the place. That's right. All makes sense. We're talking with our political strategist, political consultant, Amisha Cross, catching up. It's been a year, it's been a week, and we're not even 1 year into this new administration. We'll have more with Amisha right after this.
Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Sky Rizzy, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Sky Rizzy, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizzy.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZY to learn more.
Hey Alexa, play WVON 1690 AM.
Getting WVON 1690 AM station from iHeartRadio.
Try it out for yourself. America is listening to WVON.
Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Not kind of sure. Not pretty sure. Not a little sure. But super sure. The seismic shift is coming.
Welcome back. We are talking with our political strategist, political consultant, Amisha Cross. Amisha, before we're done, we're going to tee up Tim McGraw's Christmas Across America, Christmas Across the World, whatever it was, because I know he's your guy. How did you become this? Well, I could tell by the chaps and cowboy hat that you had on. How did you become a country music fan? How did this happen? Okay, the playing guitar thing is new. We got to come to that at some other point. Let's come back to politics while I have you here, though. Marjorie Taylor Greene, make sense of this conversion of hers. Is this real? Is this something different? She is now leaving. What is she going to do? What should we expect? And what should we believe from all that we're hearing and seeing as it relates to her? It's something to think about her being an advocate for victims' rights and knowing what his record was going into this office and her staunch support of him. I get, at some level, this push around the Epstein files, but that's another thing I want to ask you about because, so one, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been appearing on The View, been taking these different stances. Trump, of course, as he does, either you ride with me or you collide with me. And so he's pushed her to the side and stepped on her. So we see all that. But if you are really for victims' rights, truly, how do you embrace him at any point, knowing what his record was before he was elected even the first time? Yeah. And that's what exactly it should be. Let's talk about the Epstein files, moving right from that. Because here's the thing about the Epstein files, Amisha. There's so much conversation about Trump's involvement in the Epstein files, Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, whether or what he did or what that is, the redaction of what's come out so far. At some level, those of us who believed already knew that he was connected to Epstein. We heard what he said to Billy Bush on the bus. We know about what he did at these teen pageants. Why is there so much infatuation with what's in these files, given that if you know these people are in there who have done things, the worst that could possibly happen at this point to them would be, not the worst, but you'd never expect him to be president of the United States, except we elected him. And so what are we looking for, and why do they matter so much at this point? It's the slowest walk you've ever seen, and they're trying. Which made for the Wild Week last week. We'll talk about that. Susie Wild. We got to talk about what the Democratic message should be from here. This erratic primetime speech. We're talking to political consultant, political strategist, Amisha Cross. We'll be back more with her after we find out what's in Black Information News and in the headlines. What's happening? I'm back. Everybody good? Um, hey, here's the beauty of things. Yesterday was the shortest day of the year. It's spring. Everything is looking up, and I'm looking forward to getting back out on the golf course. It's kind of cool being up here. They got a lot of snow in this area, but it's all pretty much melted. My mother-in-law is here she lives out in Vegas now, and she was looking forward to seeing some snow, but the weather in Chicago precedes what's here, so it won't get as warm. But nope, no white Christmas here, no white Christmas there. You try to give 96-year-olds all that they want, but all you can do is all you can do. Cool. What that spell? Welcome back. Happy to continue my conversation, probably the last one for this year. Okay, it's the last one for this year, that we'll have with our political strategist, political consultant, Amisha Cross. Amisha, so Susie Wiles did an exposure piece pretty much in Vanity Fair. Did that surprise you that happened? Was there anything in the article that surprised you? And are you surprised by what the reaction to it has been? So the reaction to it, that surprise, you're surprised that people reacted to it given who she is, or you respond, because that was different than what we would have expected. Seemingly everybody who comes on the other side of Trump somehow, either you ride with me or collide with me. And that did not seem to be the case as it related to Susan Wiles. Just didn't know that he had that ability to be that discreet, because everything he says or does, particularly when he feels that he's been wronged, seems to be so unbelievably public. So, that whole thing, and I guess I read the first one. I didn't pay for the second one. The first one seemed they gave you free, but you got to pay for the second one. Don't know if there's more than we'll find out, other than the fact that that it's there. It just seemed interesting. She did expose a lot of the things that people otherwise know. Amisha, Donald Trump was a lame duck from the moment he was elected. He's not going to be elected to a third term. Not sure why people even having those conversations. The Constitution says no. And there's not a whole lot of things you can do in order to get there. Let me ask you, though, because one of the things that you can do is if there's a war or conflict that's going on, it may be more difficult to do so. What are we doing with Venezuela, and why is there so much focus there? Because I don't think anybody's buying this thing around drugs, particularly when you release the president of a country who supplied more drugs here than pretty much anybody else. You know, look at all these things and wonder where's the grift coming, because he's not been making money for the United States. He's been making money for Donald Trump and his family. We're talking with our political strategist, political consultant, Amisha Cross. Got a couple more things to talk to her about, and we'll wrap it up when we come back right after this. Derek, you already know it spells cool. Welcome back. Talking with our political strategist, political consultant, Amisha Cross, wrapping up the year. Amisha, you've been wonderful to us, and I so appreciate it. With so much going on, it's always good to get your clarity because everybody's looking for you to do so. Did you actually go on Fox and talk to them about these things? That's why I had to get you on right now because I know you're going someplace. We should talk about this redistricting that they look to do, and I don't think they're going to get out of it. They being Trump, what he was hoping to get out of it. What do you think about the way in which these things have changed? And importantly, does this now set the stage for how things will go going forward with all these things that are happening? Or will we ever get back to what we used to know as to how things were once done? Does that mean then when we start to look at in the next presidential election and actually the elections leading up to it, we need to pay particular attention to what people are saying that they will do, because there will either be people who will continue what Trump has done, or it will be the reversal of what he's done to try to get us back to some level of normal. And then when the next Trump-like person comes in, we find ourselves reverted back to this. So it's going to be really challenging to see whether or not guardrails ever come back into place and how people then react. Do you think, Amisha, that this is really because of the strength of the personality of the person who's currently there, or is this just the way the system is broken down and whoever the next person is will be able to be as strong as he has been in this place? We've got a little delay. And he's been very clear. And I thought about that this morning, Amisha, getting ready to talk to you, because but for the fact that he won the presidency, he would be under the jail with all of these things. And, I don't know how he still stays from under there when he's out or somebody's going, unless they die with him. Time for us to go. But of course, I got a caller who wants to get in before you go. Cliff, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning? Thank you. All right, Cliff, thank you. And thanks for reminding me again about Anthony Banks. And I'm glad you called because I hadn't heard from you in a while. Amisha, you have any thoughts on that? Well, I'll tell you, I grew up blown away by the National Enquirer, and every time I went into a store, they talked about UFOs. I was looking around for them all the time. One. Two, I bought my grandson a drone for his birthday. He's 11 years old, and when we watch what he could do with that, everybody should be concerned. Amisha Cross, happy holidays to you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your scholarship. We certainly appreciate being with you, and safe travels as you get through this holiday. Be well. Let's find out from Candace what's going on in the news. Got more for you when we come back after this. We're going to talk about locks. Gail Mitchell was with us. Back right after this.
Xfinity is the network you can rely on. Like a close friend who will give it to you straight. The friend who will tell you that new haircut, it's not great. Friends make sure friends get good haircuts. And Xfinity makes sure you get a good deal on Wi-Fi. Xfinity gets you reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi at the best price. This holiday season through January 4th, gig speed Wi-Fi for just $50 a month for 5 full years. No strings, no commitments. Just super fast, reliable gig speed Wi-Fi with our best equipment for unlimited data speed. Save yourself questionable decisions. Save over Verizon and AT&T. Xfinity, imagine that reliable. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless payment. Other services go to bank. Taxes and fees extra.
Welcome back. Look, if you're listening to this show anywhere, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, please share it. You're getting some information here that people aren't getting in any other way, shape, or form. So please don't keep it to yourself. If you like what we're doing, then tell others, share the message. If you don't like what we're doing, Rufus@WVON.com. Let me know. We'll see what we can do. But make sure, let's get some others involved in the understanding and the conversation. So share the show. Happy to have my next guest join. Her name is Gail Mitchell. Gail is a native of Chicago, born to Jamaican immigrants. She's the president and executive director of the Locked Life Foundation. Done a number of things coming up to this, but this is where she is now. And I've held up for those who are watching a copy of her magazine, Locked Life. This is an inaugural issue, and we're glad to have her here to talk about it. Gail, good morning and welcome back to WVON. Good to have you. So talk about this, the Locked Life Foundation. Tell us how this started and why this was necessary. All right. So I don't want you to fly past what you do in your other life. Tell us about your professorship. All right. So for those of us who are follically challenged, talk to us about what locks are. They're not braids, they're not straight, but this is a whole different thing. So talk to us about locks. You've been wearing them for almost 20 years. Why you started and why this is important. Can you distinguish for us, what's the difference in locks and twists? Got it. Got it. And as you push for locks, as you push for this natural hairstyle, what is your objective? What is it that you want society to know? What is it that you want people to pick up on when I ask about why this is important? Why is this important for you to be able to do and promote? I see you've got a number of advertisers in the magazine, but Gail, I can't help but note when I look at your board of directors, it's all women. What's up with that? Of everything. When you think about that, has there been discrimination against people who wear locks? Let's talk about it a little bit more. We're talking with Gail Mitchell. She is the founder, the executive director of the Lock Life Foundation. We'll be back more with her and wrap up the show right after this.
Up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Ready to fire up your taste buds, Chicago? Black-owned Koda Hibachi serves fresh, authentic hibachi and sushi, served with a smile. Grab takeout, order delivery, or dine in casual style. No flaming show, just flavor that steals the spotlight. And hey, tell them WVON is your favorite radio station and get 10% off your order. Visit them at 258 West 31st Street. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 8, Friday and Saturday till 9. Sundays till 7. And don't forget, tell them WVON is your favorite radio station and get 10% off your order. Koda Hibachi, where flavor meets culture.
It all comes down to this, folks. Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain. Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast. Speaking of fast, did you just see that play? Yeah, he vaporized that ball. That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it! Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
If you're over 45 and looking for love or looking for it again,
Your love story is still being written, and we've got a new chapter just for you.
Hearts Encore is where real talk meets real possibility.
It's fun, it's grown, and it's all about the best of both worlds. Wisdom from experience and the excitement of something new.
Join me, Atiba Buchanan.
Me, LaDonna Ray.
And me, Cheryl Grace of Powerful Penny, every Thursday at 4 p.m.
Hearts Encore.
Only on the afternoon show, right here on WVON.
This report is sponsored by SuperSure. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get super sure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not little sure, but super sure. The seismic shift is coming. Super sure, coming soon.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This Christmas, and as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together. This Christmas, fireside's blazing bright. We're caroling through the night, and this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me.
Welcome back. We're talking with Gail Mitchell. She is the the president, if you will, the executive director of the Lock Life Foundation. Gail, before we went to break, first of all, I mentioned all the women who are involved. There is one guy who's involved. It's none other than Walter Mitchell, a wonderful photographer around town, around the country. Good frat brother of mine, and he happens to be married to Gail. Gail talked about the Crown Act. Crown Act, it's an acronym for creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. It is now a U.S. law. You mentioned it being in a number of states around the country. Talk about that act and why that act was necessary. It was enacted back in 2019, and states have passed their own versions. I think it was first enacted in California. But you mentioned how you have thought about the discrimination around hair in positions that you've looked for. Does it feel like we're making progress? Are we getting away from that at all? it's telling in so many ways. And, I'm not speaking about anybody in particular, but, there was a moment, and I think back to the 60s, when we were true and free and afros were prominent and all that was there. We do notice this movement, and there's more straightening of hair and more of those kind of looks that we're seeing much more prominent today, which makes locks stand out, and the need for us to just be more expressive in who we are as we go and how we do. So it's good that you're doing this, and I appreciate you coming on to elevate this issue as well this morning. This is not your first issue of the magazine. I was wrong. I'm looking at the early end, and I see 3 or 4 issues there. How do people access Lock Life? Indeed, I'm looking through and seeing there are a number of people who who are included in this issue you may not have thought about in this context. Aniqua Martin Green just stands out. A sister who played Detective Lena Silver in Boston Blue. There's our very own Laura Washington, who you see here on ABC7, on the Chicago Tribune. Not missing Ayo Danasumu, number 11 for the Chicago Bulls, and the president of Kennedy King College, Katanja Webb Walker, amongst others, who are included in here who are wearing locks, wearing natural hair. And whether it's locks or whatever it is, there's just the movement, because this happened mainly because of racial bias that has historically been linked to black hair. And so the fight for this is the fight for everything else and the fight that we need to do. Gail, I so appreciate the work that you're doing here. Thank you so much for coming on this morning to talk with us about it. All right, and it's www.lockedlifefoundation.org, correct? All right, that's where you go. Check it out, get your magazine, subscribe to it, and continue on. Gail, happy holidays to you and your family. Thanks so much again for coming on with us this morning. All right. We're going to almost leave it there for this morning, folks. I had a lot more to cover. I just never have enough time. Certainly, this issue of 60 Minutes, they left out a big segment yesterday because the White House didn't like it. We keep coming back to this whole notion of Paramount, CBS, what they own, what they do, what they control, and what we get to know from those things. It makes it so much more important to listen to WVON and listen to these independent stations and catch your news in other places because people are trying to control what it is that we get. Need to wish a very happy birthday to our very own Pam Morris Walton. Happy birthday, Pam. I've never seen her without a smile, no matter what she was doing or what else she was going through. And I'll just point out the fact, yesterday was the shortest day of the year, or maybe it was the day before, but spring is coming and we're on that trajectory now. So let's continue there. Candace, appreciate you always, all that you do, all that you give, and all that you share with us. It keeps us through the day. And Titus, thank you so much for keeping all these things together. I'm not going to be back in for another couple of weeks. Appreciate you doing this and all the times that you do. But I'll still be on the air except for that space when I'm not. So appreciate you always for making those things work. And ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, as I always do, as you go through the course of the day, you will come across people who are dealing with things that you know absolutely nothing about. So please, be kind, always. And with that, Candace settles us in the headlines, and T-Dub, take us home.
Alternative budget. The FDA is calling for more aggressive CTA safety plan. And Minority Leader
Appreciate you all. I
Jeffries,
appreciate you more than you'd ever know. Thank you.
we will have
Happy
details of
holidays.
these stories
See you
and much
tomorrow.
more headed your way. National news from the Black Information Network is up next on the station that is black and proud. WVON 1690 AM. Berwyn, Chicago.
Jury duty and need to pay the police department in gift cards. The calls are under investigation. ICE officials said a man from Eritrea died at the Moshannon Valley Processing
Love y'all.
Center.
See you tomorrow.